Hey guys, today I'd just like to talk about covert narcissism because it is crazy. Kind of crazy to deal with it. I would consider myself not an expert in psychology, but an expert at dealing with covert narcissists. And this is already a subject that, not too many people know about. So I'm going to share what I've experienced and the knowledge that I do have that I did get from very good psychiatrists. And yeah, I'm going to enjoy my monthly clove cigarette. All this will happen when my back is healed. I'll talk about that in my other videos. But so coverts are interesting. I'm not going to mention regular narcissistic abuse because it's very similar for many reasons as far as their motives, but their methods of getting what they want the narcissistic to apply are way different from overt, regular, well-known layman term narcissism. So what I dealt with for the most part was a lot of things, but their ultimate objective is they can make you feel very bad. They can basically it's like a sugar-coated poison apple, but the sugar is so good. It's like a heroin-covered poison apple, really, is the way to put it. And the thing is, they won't, your suggestions, everything that you come up with is meant to be snuffed out. It doesn't mean that your suggestions or what you come up with are necessarily right or wrong. It's just their relationship to you. And this is the covert part. This is the part that you don't see. It's underneath. It's hidden. It's really with use of wordplay and all sorts of clever thing. Well, you could say clever until you know which direction they're coming from. But this is hard. This is legitimately hard. The whole point underneath is for them to say, "You're wrong, I'm right," without seeming mean, without mean in ways that aren't. Okay, I was on the phone with this person. We were having a private conversation. This is meta-communication, which is what she used, which is indirect communication, which is what they're all like. That's actually, when they're speaking to you indirectly, that is them actually coming at you with an objective and a fucking motive. This is, okay, I got, in the last few years, I got burned in a narcissistic hell. And now I'm out of that. Things are just different. They're a lot calmer. Things are a lot calmer than they were. So I was on the phone with this girl, and we're having a private conversation, right? And she said, meta-communication, indirect communication. Like, my roommate just came over, and my roommate's in the kitchen, and I'm talking to her, and she asks me something very personal that I may not want someone else to hear, when she also just told me that her roommate is there. So there are little things like that. Another thing, I've known this girl for over a decade. She is a painter. She went to an Ivy League college to paint. I'm a musician, okay? I had a band when we met 10 years ago. She knows I fucking love music. I can play guitar, drums, and bass, and sing and keyboard fluently. I can produce an album. Played in front of thousands of people. Whatever. I'm not an egomaniac about it. I just love doing it. So the thing is, I wanted her to show me her paintings. Because I was trying to court the girl. And there's, to me, that's a major turn on when I meet an artist and she wants me to be into her art. I also tried to show her my music, right? So this was something that I proposed, right? My idea that came from my end of the relationship. And, I was like, show me your art. And I was all, and and I was indirectly communicating, like, I showed her my music, just to kind of break the ice. So that would maybe make her feel more comfortable about showing me more of her art. Right? But instead, she didn't show me more art, and she didn't listen to my music. Now, that doesn't seem very mean. It can seem passive-aggressive, but what that's doing is sending me a message, which, that's the one thing about covert narcs, is that they can't actually handle any limelight. And they also don't want you to stand in the limelight either. It's like they'll never actually get to where they're trying to go. It doesn't make any sense. Overts make a lot more sense to me. And that's why this is all very complex, because this girl got me at a time when I was also healing, and I went through massive psychological catharsis, and then she hit me, and I allowed it to happen. I mean, didn't hit me physically, but with words, brought me into the whole narcissistic hypnosis, and I suspected her the whole time, but I was like, I really don't know. And that's the thing. I had reason to believe that she already was a covert narcissist, but I don't like to make conclusions without... And that's the fucking problem with, if you're like me. If you don't like to have a lazy investigation, if you don't like to let your mind swing all the way in one direction or just swing in the other, when you like to have a clarity, that's the last thing you'll get from a covert narc. And the problem is that you're still human, and you have these vulnerable human things, and just by you speaking to them, if they know you well enough, they can pull your strings very easily. And it was so elusive, because I thought, right, because I was in my healed stage, I thought, okay, I've grieved, I've tapped into my deepest emotions. Surely I can see abuse coming and figure it out. With her, I'll admit I should have been smarter. I should have not, just said no and just like walked on in my healing direction of my life, away from the past. But until I can confirm something, I don't like to conclude it. I don't like to run lazy investigations. It's a problem I've made in my life, and I think people tend to make, is that they kind of make a conclusion and then they just go with that. They don't take give it a second thought. It depends on what it is in life, though. So, yeah, these are the kind of things you'll run into with covert narcissism. They're so damn sneaky. And I'm saying this because my parents were like this, and a couple girls I've dated have been like this, and it's so funny because they know how to... I think that the dangerous part is that they know exactly how to manipulate your brain chemicals, because when you say certain things to people, they get dopamines. When you say happy things or things that have to do with taking care of the body or other things like money, you can say things to people to make them feel things. That's just how it is, because the brain works that way. So these people may not be that capable. They may not be all that special. They may know how to make you see them through rose-colored glasses, and all they're doing is boosting your ego. And they will boost your ego in a way that a lot of people are in pain, and a lot of people want to hear better news, even if it's not necessarily true. Well, some people want to hear better news that is true, and a covert, that's where their slick bullshit car salesman or car saleswoman thing comes right in. That's like one of their main abilities, in my opinion, with the covert narcissists that I've experienced, and I've experienced a handful, and I've experienced them very intimately, unfortunately. So they know how to boost your ego so much that you're like, wow, this person really understands me. Like, I told her, hey, I'm getting into psychology. I've been into it for a year. I'm confident about it, and I like it. And she said, you should be a psychiatrist. Now, and the thing is, they'll come in with these compliments that spark ideas that make you go, wow, that feels so good that this person feels. And they'll give you compliment, and eventually those compliments will fade away. And this is a very simple tactic that she used. It didn't take... There were other things that were complex, but this tactic was not that complex. She showered me with love bombing in the first month. And then... But not only that, she went to an Ivy League school. This is not necessarily a stupid girl, but now that this wasn't intellect. See, I've been smart for a long time, but I've been healed and grieved for a few years. This was a straight up gut feeling. And it sucked because after I realized what she was doing, I basically said, fuck you, I see what you're doing, just fuck you, goodbye. It made me look bad, number one. It was a conversation between the two of us, but it doesn't matter. It's all about how it seems. It's all about appearances. There's no need to go any further. And it made me look, and it made me feel bad because I knew my intention, and I shared my intention is to heal, and I don't want to be a dick, but if someone's going to abuse me, I have to tell them to fuck off because I've been abused too much. I can't let anyone else get close, like any covert narc abusers get close to me ever again. So that was my reason for doing it. But then I felt bad. So that's where they'll hit you with the guilt. And the last two girls I've known, and this was like right at the pinnacle of my transformation, so I doubt that I'll ever have this problem again. And really going back to this girl was kind of like just double checking. But some things happened that I didn't expect. So just be careful if you ever do that. They had physical illnesses, and these were cards that they used to garner sympathy. This girl said she had EDS, right, and that her joints were dislocating all the time, but it didn't make sense with the rest of the picture. It's like, okay, well, you're upper middle class, you know, you live in a nicer town, like, why did you let yourself go like this? Why did you let your EDS get this bad, where you're stuck in a job, and you're in pain all the time? Like, why did you let it come to this? Was my critical thinking about the illness. And the other girl didn't even make it to her appointment on time. Like, you aren't really taking care of your illness, and it seems to be the reason why you were constantly in pain. Instead of taking care of your illness, you'd rather me be on the other end of the line going, oh, you poor thing, oh, you poor thing, while you stab a knife in my back. And these things will create nuclear emotions within you. An atom bomb will fucking set off. And unfortunately, I learned even if you're very healed like I am, this stuff can still affect you very badly. So this is like the kind of an in-depth scoop on such a nebulous, abstract, elusive subject as covert narcissism. Because again, they're going for the same thing as overts. They want that narcissistic supply, but their ways of doing it, I think, are worse. But that's because I'm very perceptive. To someone who is less perceptive, a regular narcissist is a fucking nightmare. And they can be if you have to work with one every day and you still are very perceptive. I don't know what's worse, but this is what I'm experiencing. And for people who are going through the same thing, I want you to know what to look out for. I want you to know what to wise up to. And you have to wise up to these people because they're like a 3-year-old. But they know how to fake a lot of human qualities. And that's the creepy part. Yes, creepy. The weaselly part. They will fake. I've heard the two girls that I mentioned before have said things like, oh, I used to have the little me mentality, but, now I've come around. Or they'll say things to fake maturity. They will use words to fake maturity. So they'll throw that out while they're throwing all this other shit at you so that you believe that part. It makes you believe that part. Makes you believe things. What do you believe? What do you truly believe? What have you believed for a long time? What have you believed very recently at the time when this covert narcissist is setting off your nuclear emotions? Ask yourself these kinds of questions with some mindfulness and detachment. and in a relaxed state, and it can help you. It can help you a lot. But the best answer, and also perhaps the most painful, temporarily, you got to think in the long game here, is to literally realize that you got to do everything you can, and in certain situations even make big economic sacrifices, because you're still a human with these certain vulnerabilities, and if you're vulnerable to covert narc abuse, you gotta look at that like someone's holding a gun to your head. You might not die, but you can fall into a path of shit that never stops, if you let them throw you off mentally and emotionally enough. This girl did throw me off, and it compromised my situation a little bit, but then I just bounced back, just kept going, just let time pass, and that sucks. And there's some therapy you can do, and there's some crying you can do. I cried instantly, and that didn't take away all the shitty feelings. I just know that I lasted, and now I feel calm again. But it's very powerful. It's insane it's surprising how powerful it is. And it's also not fair how in the dark you get left about it. How not obvious it is, how sneaky it is. And that's just bullshit. And I truly feel for you if that's happening. These people suck, and you're better off on your own. And you gotta do everything you can to end the communication. Unless it's your family, and I understand that. I'm not gonna push anyone to do that. I'm just saying it's worth questioning It's worth questioning if you need to stay in contact with, or if you need to change something, work something out. Depends on the severity. My parents were severe, and I can't tolerate it. So, if you have questions on this kind of stuff, please feel free to ask, because it sucks that I went through all of that, but I'd love to help people in this regard. Like I say, I'm not a psychiatrist. I'm just smart and experienced in this kind of stuff, especially self-acceptance, self-acceptance, self-acceptance. Can't emphasize that one enough. Just saying, I'm enough, I can figure it out, I'm okay, because they can make you feel very not okay. And this is me a year after getting away from my family. Like, this is me right after a couple really crappy stints of COVID. And it's like, it sucks now. In a year, it's gonna be a lot better. After that, it's gonna be, especially as I learn to be more autonomous and filter out narc abusers and keep on not running into those people and try and run into more people who aren't like that. And that's a big mystery. It's something you have to take one step at a time through life. Alright, I think I've made a pretty good point in this video, so thank you for watching. Have a great day. Cheers.